I have sent a link to Joe, who's my partner, about the show that I'm doing. I will say that today is, yesterday I heard the news of my uncle's passing, and he's an uncle on my mother's side of the family, and that I don't know what he passed away from. I didn't get to know him that well. He lived in Texas. I live in California, and I'll go into that later. Why I kind of don't know him that well. I was close to one of the aunts in Texas. Anyway, but it does kind of mark. He's number 7. My mother comes from a family of 7 siblings, and I'm sorry. My mother comes from a family of 11 siblings, and 7 of them have already passed away. So there are 4 of my mother's siblings left, not including my mother. My mother, I think she was Kenny, Ellen, Lynn. She was number 4 in the passing away of my family's my mother's family. She was the 4th of the siblings to pass away, and now there are 4 left. And Joe started a call. I didn't get it though. But I'm just going to tell Joe, I sent you a link. So why don't you hop in? Hello? All right, I'm going to hang up pretty soon, but I did send you a link for the show.
Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. Hold on.
Okay, I'm holding on, but you can just pop in on StreamYard.
Okay, I'm sorry. What did you say?
I sent you a link. I'm doing a show, and it's on right now. So if you want to come in, hit the link.
Got it.
So Joe will be joining us shortly. Sorry, folks. So yeah, talking about my my mother's passing. It's not my mother's passing, but my uncle's passing. My mother passed. I believe it'll be 10 years. It's been a little over 10 years since my mother's passed, and my father has passed too. Both my family members died before I hit the age of 50, which I'm 51 now. So, and there are people who have their parents into their 60s and 70s, and there are people who lose their parents before they reach their teens. And he wants a link, and I'll give him a link. Here we go. So I'm giving another person a link. Yes. So we have 2 people that have a link. Now Howard's on, and then Joe's on as well. I've sent them both links. I'll send Joe another link if he doesn't have one already. Boo hoo hoo. So let me see here. I'll send him another link, just because sometimes. There we go. Send another link. Out there. It takes a while for people to show up, and I've been looking at the violence between Antifa and the Proud Boys. I guess I don't know when they had a straight pride parade, but it was in Modesto, and I guess the Proud Boys got the better of Antifa. I just think it's a sad thing altogether that that we have to resort to violent street battles in this country, and we cannot arrest people who initiate force. Joe, we have Joe right now, and we have the one farting Jew. I wish he would have a different name, but yeah. So
It's really disgusting. How sickening.
now, I wanted to mention, Howard. Did you hear about the Straight Pride Parade in Modesto and Antifa and the Proud Boys going at it?
I saw a video of the Proud Boys kicking the shit out of Antifa.
Yes.
It wouldn't bother me if every one of their blows hit a kidney and they needed all kidney transplants. I hope they die slowly and painfully.
Well, I mean,
they deserve no less.
Yeah. Your sentiments are not I don't know if they're in the majority, but there is a strong plurality.
You're not a pacifist then.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. Why wouldn't I be? I didn't say I wanted to hit them in the kidney. I said I was quite happy to watch somebody else beat the shit out of them. I thought that was fine.
And with all due respect, Antifa does initiate force against groups it disagrees with. And
why does that require all due respect?
It's just a saying. Maybe it is meaningless, but
is it some kind of filler thing that you use when you don't know what to say?
I think he's trying to make a generally nice or kind transition or gentle disagreement.
A polite disagreement.
Why would you want to be nice or gentle? These are violent people who deserve nothing. Listen, I would send them to Guantanamo and torture them.
Well, they're
anarchists. They're anarchists. They don't like the Constitution. So why should they live by it?
Well,
they should be renditioned to a black site in Cuba or Thailand and let them be tortured for the rest of their lives. I could give a shit what happens to them.
Well, Joe is not a member of Antifa, and I want, like, if I strive to give people respect sight unseen, and they earn my disrespect.
Well, who said that Antifa didn't earn it?
Well, Antifa does, but I was talking to Joe, not Antifa.
Why, did you want Joe renditioned? Because I'm sure that people have had that thought as well. By the way, I bring you greetings from the great Beppe Grillo. I had a long talk with him yesterday.
We miss
you
him.
You remember the Beppe Grillo?
I miss Beppe. I miss Beppe very much.
We miss Beppe very much.
Absolutely.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I did. But I mean, that's certainly. I don't think it's going to happen. Antifa seems to have the backing of the establishment because they've aligned with Black Lives Matter, and it's kind of sad that the police are instructed to back down and not having law and order.
Who instructs the police to ignore their oath of office? Can you instruct the police to ignore their oath of office?
It seems like they're doing that.
That's right? Isn't that what they're doing? So, can you mandate that the police ignore their oath of office?
No.
Okay. So when a right-wing group demonstrates, are not the police there to protect their rights? Did they not swear an oath to protect and serve the people and abide by the Constitution and to defend the Constitution, and is not defending their right to free speech part of their oath of office? So who gets to tell the police to ignore their oath of office?
I'm not sure. I mean, again, I think there needs to be an investigation on why this is happening and why groups like that are allowed to, and why the police seem to be ignoring their oath of office.
By the way, do you see this gray here on the side? Not to take away from what you were saying, it was very interesting. That's going to be gone tomorrow. Why? Because they have loosened the shackles, as the Bangkok Post says, and they're going to loosen the shackles a bit and let people get their hair cut.
Gee, thanks.
I thought you were are you gonna diet?
Well, it's not a problem for the two of you, obviously, but it is for me. And if I showed you the boy, the only thing that will fix him now is a pair of clippers and a number 2.
Well, I mean,
not a number 1. I think a number 1 would be too strong for him, but a number 2.
But
and you don't really have too much gray, so good on you.
Gray on the sides, like Paulie Walnuts out of The Sopranos. I thought about dyeing it, but I don't know. We'll leave it there.
Now,
did you lose track of where you were?
No. I was going to ask about, and I don't know why. I don't know if that is a thrill for you, but
what
maybe.
Are you sipping on? What is this? This is a coffee drink you're drinking?
I'm drinking tea with bay leaves.
Now, Howard, does ivermectin help with diabetes?
I have no idea. I don't think it has any effect at all.
Okay. Now, I was talking to a family member of mine, and he was like, "Why would you
have that? You don't have that many family members, so we all know who you talk to. So, okay, go ahead. You talk to your brother.
Well, no, okay, well, whatever. But he was saying, why would you ever take something that was designed for animals for humans? And
I don't remember the drug that was designed initially for animals, and they found out that it cured things in humans after it was used in animals for many years. Oh, I do remember. Ivermectin.
Okay. Let me ask you: is there proof that this helps with corona?
Yes.
Where?
Well, I'll put a link into this quasi chat room, whatever it is that you've got. I would put it in the YouTube thing, but I'm blocked still because some bald schmuck blocked me and pretends that he doesn't know how to unblock me. And I would never say his name, but I would look at him and whistle.
Well,
stay gone.
So he's putting it in the chat. So how do you say it? Is it ivermectin?
It's Alan ivermectin.
Ivermectin.
It's
ivermectin. Ivermectin. Jesus, now I'm talking like you.
I'm contagious. But because
I hope not.
Because the establishment seems to want to block any open discussion on these alternatives. And
yes,
I've also
including hydroxychloroquine, which you can't find, but you can find chloroquine. And that might not be as good as hydroxychloroquine, but I would get some chloroquine if you can get a prescription for it. All right, so let's see. Which countries have adopted the use of ivermectin? Ivermectin adoption. I see Mexico, Venezuela, Colombia, uh, Brazil, uh, not Ecuador, and not Chile. A couple countries in Africa, India. I'm not sure what country that is. I have to think about it. Looks like Turkey. A couple countries in Europe. It says Vietnam. And it's been being used in, I believe, Indonesia. Yeah, Indonesia is using it, as well as Japan. Well, of course, Japan. Japan is studying it right now, but there are plenty of countries that are using ivermectin. And
I see Sicily
I
here.
think
Sicily.
I think
And,
the biggest advertisement for ivermectin is the fact that so many governments are telling you not to use it. Why would that be?
Well, governments lie, but also governments can tell the truth. I mean, governments both lie and tell the truth. And sometimes
You're a very conflicted man. You know, when you say things like,
conflicted. When you've been lied to enough, I say when they tell you something, you should immediately look for the opposite answer.
yeah, when you say governments lie, but then governments are telling you, what does that mean?
it means that just like people lie and people tell the truth.
You
Oh,
are
no,
rationalizing the lie.
I never lie.
Okay.
By the way, I'm just to be 100% truthful. I'm a troll and a liar,
Yes.
but I never lie.
Well, I mean, did you ever see the movie Scarface when he said the line, "I tell the truth even when I lie"?
No, I'm thinking of the Harcourt Fenton Mudd episode of Star Trek.
Okay.
You don't have it. You have no idea what I'm talking about.
No,
do
we
you?
don't.
You're not a Star Trek fan?
Somewhat
Over our heads.
Star Trek. You're not a Star Trek fan, either of you?
somewhat.
Okay, I'm talking about the original Star Trek.
I mean, I've seen a lot of their episodes. Go ahead.
How could
Make
you
your
not
point.
see? How could you not have seen every episode? Yeah, there was a time, and you're old enough to remember this time, when your only form of entertainment was either masturbation or television late at night. Look at Mr. Midnight Movie making a face at the word masturbation. Hold on.
He never did.
Masturbation.
Now,
I'm sorry. Did you feel some kind of force come at you? What was that?
when you compare Captain Picard,
We're not comparing Captain Picard and William Shatner. We're comparing the episode of Harry Mudd.
What season?
When Harry Mudd took over the planet of androids. Do you recall that? They could manufacture any android that he wanted.
I think I can remember bits and pieces of it. Go ahead.
Okay. And do you remember how the crew of the Enterprise thwarted Harry and single-handedly short-circuited all of the androids?
No.
They found the one android that only had one copy, which was Norman. Norman was running all of the other androids. And so they had a talk with Norman. In fact, it was Spock who had a talk with Norman. And Spock told Norman, that he never lies. And then he whispered in his ear, he said, "But I'm a liar." And Norman got very confused with that input. And then they pretended to kill each other. And then they said that they loved him and all sorts of other things until Norman could not rationalize any of these thoughts that had now been put into his android brain. And he short-circuited, and then all the androids stopped. And that's how they got out of the planet of the androids that were run by Harry Mudd.
All right. What was the takeaway then? What was the logical breakdown, as they always did on Star Trek?
Well, the logical breakdown was that they never lie. And then he said, but I'm a liar. I'm a troll and a liar. You figure it out. Nobody's been able to figure it out yet, so I don't know.
Well, human beings have been known to lie and tell the truth. And
At the same time? By the way, what were you talking about before all of this Star Trek nonsense?
Well,
you don't even know.
No, we were talking about Antifa and the Proud Boys. I opened up with the loss of my uncle, which is now, I guess, 7 family members of my mother's siblings, including yourself.
Did he leave you any money?
No, I don't think he
Then
had.
stop talking about him.
Oh, there we go. That's great.
If he didn't have the temerity to leave you some money, then what the hell are you talking about him for?
Now, let me ask you this: I wonder if you had any uncles or aunts in your life that you knew of, huh?
Yeah, we had several of them.
Were you close to any of them?
Some. What was the point? What was the point of that very in-depth and interesting line of questions?
It was perhaps just a little insight into the soul of Howard, which I don't know if there is one.
No, there is not one.
Well, now I have. So, do you still see the future of the United States is doomed?
Yes. How are you going to bring it back? You have a whole generation that has no clue where Canada is. Go out and do your own test. I did it years ago with 9/11. I asked people on a sidewalk. I was eating on the sidewalk. So I just stopped everybody and said, how many buildings fell? How many skyscrapers fell to the ground on the morning of 9/11? Or on the day of 9/11? And what was the most popular answer? 99%.
2.
Is that your answer? You afraid to now give it?
You've
already committed yourself. You answered that question not with what do you think the most popular answer was. You were very happy to tell me that it was 2 buildings that fell the day of 9/11.
You asked me what the consensus was. And the consensus.
No, but you didn't answer the consensus because you didn't hear that part. You were too quick. You wanted to answer.
Yes,
now tell the truth. You think it's 2.
That's what I remember.
Well, that's what you remember because you obviously weren't watching television in the late afternoon. You see that? You know what that is?
It looks like a leaf.
It's a bay leaf.
Yes.
Would you put that in tea?
Yes.
You would?
I don't see a problem with that.
Why would you put a bay leaf in tea?
Maybe for taste and maybe medicinal purposes.
It's good for the taste. 3 buildings fell on the day of 9/11, not 2.
The 2 World Trade Center buildings fell. What was the other building?
Building 7.
Was Building 7 part of the World Trade Center building? Where were there 3? I mean, I'm not sure. I mean,
Yes.
Now, didn't they
Yes.
want?
Wasn't Building 7 the building they announced on live on the news just previous to it actually collapsing? Or am I thinking of something
20
else?
minutes previous to it collapsing, yes.
Now,
They,
didn't they?
BBC announced, BBC and CNN both announced that Building 7 had completely fallen into its own footprint and nobody was killed or injured when it fell.
And the contents of that building was pretty important. I think it had to do with a lot of financial instruments. I don't recall at this point, but I have to go and look. And
I recall because I'm one of the most brilliant people that call your show. No, that's not difficult to do, but it's also very true. The day before 9/11, Donald Rumsfeld announced that the Pentagon had misplaced $3 trillion worth of funding. They didn't know where it went. Rumsfeld held a press conference on 9/10 in the afternoon, telling the American people that they were searching for $3 trillion, 3.2 to be exact, $3.2 trillion that had disappeared and they could not account for it, but they had crack accountants searching for it. The crack accountants were in a certain section of the building. It just so happened that those accountants were working in the section that they claimed an airplane hit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not an expert on 9/11.
I'm sorry, what did you need to be an expert on? Did you need to be an expert on watching a press conference by Donald Rumsfeld making a statement about $3.2 trillion? Did you need to be an expert as to why they put staff in a certain section of the Pentagon that had just recently been fortified? Did you
No,
need to be an expert for that?
no.
Okay. And did you also need to be an expert to find out that Building 7, which fell to the ground at 5:20 in the afternoon, was reported at 5 o'clock on the BBC and CNN, but fell to the ground at 5:20 in the afternoon of 9/11. And in that building were lots of spook agencies and a lot of the evidence for finding that $3.2 trillion. Just a coincidence. Nothing more, nothing to see.
I mean, how about the fact of now? What do you think happened with Mr. Epstein?
How do you go from 9/11 to Jeffrey Epstein?
I just thought I'd throw.
Does your
something.
mind work that way? Was that a
Is that
clever ploy on your part to steer the conversation elsewhere?
I mean, I didn't see anything sinister in it. I was just asking a question. So,
Do you believe that an airplane hit the side of the Pentagon?
yeah, yes, I do.
You do believe that. What evidence do you have for that thought?
Just what I was told.
Told by whom? Your brother, perhaps? The man who questions why you would want to take a drug made for animals?
Well,
By the way, is there a way to make a drug only for animals?
I don't know. So they usually make drugs that are primarily effective with animals and certain types of animals that are not effective with others.
So, it'd be very difficult for me to get Prozac. Not Prozac. It'd be very difficult for me to get Xanax here in Thailand. I'd have to get a doctor to prescribe it, and I'd have to buy it from a hospital pharmacy. I couldn't just buy it from a regular pharmacy. They wouldn't have it. Do you think that I can easily get a hold of Xanax after what I just told you?
Maybe.
I have some.
Does it work?
Puts the cat right out. Makes him as loopy as possible.
Oh, so you give it to the cat?
Yeah, I got it from the vet.
Now they have talked about a
Is
correlation.
there a difference between the Xanax for the pet and the Xanax that I might get at the pharmacy?
Probably not.
Actually, there is. The size. It's a much smaller dose.
Okay.
If I wanted to get a hold of Xanax, I could easily get a hold of it just by getting it from my vet. I could tell her a cat had kittens.
Now, and I know this is off topic. Well,
This short circuits your head, doesn't it?
no.
Yeah, I'm watching your face as your thought processes continue in it. This line of questioning looks like it short circuits. It's no wonder that you gave up about the golf cart.
You know, I have nothing to gain or lose during this conversation, so it's not necessarily a win or loss for me. It's just a conversation. So,
And where was this conversation going?
well, I was going wherever I wanted it to, primarily.
Where would that be?
Well, it's current events. It's kind of a stoic grab bag. So it's wherever wherever the wind takes me, wherever my mind takes me. That's where the show's going.
Your mind has the ability to ramble somewhat.
That might be true.
So again, back to the question that you have forgotten, but I have not. What makes you believe that a plane hit the side of the Pentagon? Have you seen any evidence to this?
No, and I've never really thought much about it.
Why wouldn't you think about it?
I did not find it.
So let me see if I can work on you. Let me just see if I can just today dispel that belief from your brain through common sense and empirical evidence, what you can see.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
so I'm gonna put a picture of an image of the Pentagon,
mhm.
of the hole that was made at the Pentagon. Okay.
Yes.
So okay, here is what they call the punch out hole, which I think is very interesting. So here I'm going to put this in your chat, and you bring it up. Let's look at it. Let's look at it together.
I got to do a few things with that to share this thing. No, wait. Gosh,
Anytime, sweetheart.
hey, I'm sorry.
I want you to think of Sergeant Hartman as I say that. Anytime, sweetheart.
All right. put that in my memory bank here. So, damn it.
It would only take one click, I would think. You click, you bring it up on your screen, and then you share your screen. How difficult would that be?
I'm sharing my screen.
Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. I'm having. Okay, there we go. What do you see?
I see a hole.
Okay. Would you like to know where that hole is?
No. I mean, yeah, sure. Go ahead.
That's in the Pentagon.
Okay.
That's in the middle courtyard of the Pentagon. That is a hole that has gone through the front of the Pentagon, ring number 1, ring number 2, and ring number 3, and has punched out a hole 19 feet in diameter. I want you to pay close attention to the bottom of that punch-out hole.
Okay.
Okay. Government claims that hole was made by the fuselage of a 757.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if you can believe that an airplane, which if you look at what's inside an airplane, it's mostly air. Would you agree with that? The inside the fuselage is mostly air.
Yes.
Okay. So a piece of aluminum, which is what the fuselage is made from, with avionics in the nose cone, punched a hole through 3 large buildings and came out the other side with exactly the same diameter as the hole going in. Okay? So if you can believe that a fuselage that is nothing more than a straw, really, with some luggage inside and people and some seats, but mostly air. If you can believe that a fuselage made out of aluminum punched a hole through that building, if you can get past that belief, I would like you to tell me, where would the wings be on that hole?
That's a good question.
That's not a good question. There's a good answer to it. If you were sitting in an airplane, just pretend, looking at that picture, that you were sitting in an airplane seat. Where would the seat be? See the words punch out?
Mhm.
Your head would probably be about where the words punch out are.
Okay.
So let's just say you were sitting in the airplane in a window seat, and you were sitting there. So your seat might be right about where the words punch out are on the right-hand side.
Okay.
Take that with you. Okay. Where would the wings be?
Well, the wings should have been on the side. I mean, like an imprint.
Forget about where the imprint was. We're just going to assume, and you can make the assumption that the hole that was made initially is in the same position on the front of the building. Where would the wings be? If you superimposed a fuselage of an airplane, where would you attach the wings?
I guess. Yeah. Oh, wait. Okay.
You've sat in airplanes before. You're sitting in a seat. The seat is about where the word punch out is. You're looking out the window. Where do the wings attach?
To the side of the plane.
Okay, yeah, that's a brilliant answer. Where in this picture? Would they be at the top?
Well, this picture shows the. Okay, this picture shows the aftermath of.
That's right, and I'm telling you that the entrance is exactly the same. Where would the wings be if you were going to attach wings to this drawing? If this was a drawing on the wall, where would you attach the wings?
The sides.
Right. Where? Top, middle, bottom, where?
Middle.
So when you're sitting in an airplane looking out the window, you've got a wing in your way? Or the wing is far below your feet?
I don't. Okay,
The wing is far below your feet. So if you're sitting where it says punch out, if you're sitting at that height and your head is about where it says punch out, because that's where the windows are, they're in the middle of the fuselage. If you look out your window from your window seat and you're sitting above the wing, where do you suppose the wing would attach to the fuselage?
I guess it would be on the
It would
bottom.
be at the bottom of the circle, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So now that we've established where the wing is, which you don't see a punch out for the wing, and where would the engines be?
The engines aren't the engines mounted to the
Underside of the wing?
Yeah.
Why, yes, they are. And so how many feet below the wing do you think the bottom of the engine would be?
Not sure.
8, 9 feet?
Not sure. I've never.
10 feet?
I've
Well,
never.
you have walked up on an airplane. You've seen where the engines are. They're hanging below the wings. If we have determined that the wing would be attached at the bottom of this circle,
Yes.
then we can, I think, infer that the engine would be below ground.
Okay.
Okay. But if the plane, if we're to believe, flew across the ground at 500 miles an hour, or a little bit more than that, how did it do that and not leave any debris and not tumble everywhere if the engine would have to be 7 or 8 feet below ground while it did this miraculous skimming of the lawn of the Pentagon?
Don't know. I mean,
Well,
that's,
you're looking at it. You're looking at it. Do you now still believe that an airplane hit the Pentagon? How did they bring the plane down to the ground at 500 some miles an hour and fly that airplane with the engines dragging below the earth?
these questions.
These questions, your common sense, your brain, which I understand has been addled by diabetes, but your brain should tell you that that makes no sense. You don't need to be an aerospace engineer to see what I'm describing for
Have
you.
you heard of Andrew? I think his name is Andrew Schwimmer. The skeptic.
I don't know who that is, and I don't care. I'm asking you to look at this hole that was made in the Pentagon. Obviously, something made a hole in the Pentagon. Was it an airplane? Because there's no wing damage to the building. And even if there was, in order for the plane to fly and hit the building and fly straight through the building, 1 ring, 2 ring, 3 rings, in order for it to do this, it would have to fly perpendicular to the ground. Yeah?
Howard.
How did it do that? How did
Howard,
the engines fly above underground without disturbing the plane at all, without making the plane tumble, without coming off and leaving debris all over the lawn?
Howard,
How did an airplane make this hole?
I don't know.
I'm asking you to use your common sense. You already know where your seat would be. It would be in the middle. We've already determined where the wings would be, at the bottom. So we know that, but if the wings are at the bottom, that the engines would have to be 8 or 9 feet below that. And below the bottom of the wing is Earth. How did an airplane make this hole? I think that anybody with a working brain would have to conclude that an airplane did not make this hole.
Who made it?
Well, that's a different question. First, we have to dispel this notion that an airplane made this hole. You can ask the question later, what made the hole? But the only thing that that you should be thinking about now is, did an airplane make this hole? And since your common sense would have to tell you that in order for an airplane to make this hole, somehow they'd have to figure out how to fly it with the engines underground. So
Well,
I think that we can conclude, and you don't have to be an expert or an aerospace engineer or even a pilot like me. I think we can conclude that an airplane did not make this hole.
have you ever belonged to the Skeptic Society? Do you know about
No.
that?
Something round made this hole, but it wasn't an airplane.
Okay.
Well, do you disagree with that? By definition, by how an airplane is manufactured, this could not be made by an airplane, because how did the engines go underground? Well, it skimmed above the surface of the Pentagon.
I'm just going to go back to my screen real quick. So,
Was that bothering you?
no, it's bothering me. I don't care what.
Okay, so do you still believe, hold on, do you still believe that an airplane hit the side of the Pentagon?
Before I make a decision on this, or before I
Can't you make a decision based on your observation?
well, what you showed me is what you showed me. But before I make any, before I give a definitive answer on this, or before I give an answer to something like this, I want to examine it before.
What do you want to examine? Okay, well, I'll give you another possibility, and so let's just assume. Hold on, let's just assume that an airplane could go through the building. We'll stipulate that a straw can go through a tree, or an airplane, which is a hollow tube, can go through a building. We'll stipulate that that's possible.
Okay.
There is a way that an airplane could make that hole in the Pentagon. Do you know what it is?
What?
It would have to fly upside down.
Why?
Well, then the engines wouldn't be underground, would they?
So, yeah. So you still believe, and again, that they got hijackers to sacrifice their lives.
No, I don't believe that. No, I don't believe that.
Because some of this does sound a little bit, to me, far-fetched.
What does?
Some of these 9/11 conspiracies for me.
Be specific when you say that. What is specifically far-fetched?
That 9/11 was an inside job.
Well, first of all, before you decide who did it, you should be clear on how it was done.
Okay. And that's something. But before I discuss it, I'd have to examine it. I'd have to examine those that believe and those that don't believe.
Believe in what?
Believe in the way in which it was done, and I'd have to listen. I'm certainly not an expert on this issue. I don't spend that much time on it.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that 9/11 was done by hijackers out of Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
So I can share my screen, can't I?
You might be able to try it.
Oh, I think I will. I'm going
And
to share my. I'm
Howard,
going to share my. I'm going to share my screen right now. Let me see if I can do that. And then
And
I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you to look at something.
good enough.
And let's see. It says share screen. I want to see the tips. It says share screen, and I want to share this one. Okay. Can you see my screen?
No.
It says Chrome has lost permission to capture your screen. Follow these steps. Okay, I'm going to have to give Chrome permission. Oh, look at that. I have to go into my my system preferences and go to privacy, which I'm sure you're quite familiar with. Are you familiar with it? And I'm going to give it permission. So on 9/11, you think that a bunch of hijackers from Saudi Arabia hijacked airplanes?
Yes.
Okay. And you believe that why? You have evidence of this?
I've never really studied that much, but I believe in what I've been told. And I've listened briefly to, I think it's Michael Schwarmer. He's head of the Skeptic Association. He had a Skeptics magazine. And
Yes.
he, for me, his arguments were more compelling than those who were.
They are.
For me, they were.
I don't know. Well, what were his arguments, if you don't mind my asking?
The main argument that stuck with me was that we would have people who would crash themselves into a building.
And what kind of argument is that? What is that argument?
Well, let me ask
What
you
does
this,
that say?
Howard. Do you believe that the planes on 9/11 were hijacked?
No.
That holds up a whole different can of worms that I've never examined or looked at before. And
Why would I think that?
I don't know.
What evidence do you have that the planes were hijacked?
There were people who made call. Let's roll.
There were people that made calls. How did they make those phone calls?
I think it was on their cell phone.
From 35,000 feet.
I guess.
Have you ever fired up your cell phone at 35,000 feet on an airliner?
No.
Do you think that you can make a cell phone call that your phone is capable of making a connection to a cell phone tower from 35,000 feet?
I've never thought of that.
I have. I have flown an airplane up to about 11,000 feet, and it loses contact with every tower at about 7,000 or 8,000 feet, depending upon where you are.
Okay. Well,
there is no way. So how did those people make that phone call?
I guess
They didn't make it. I can tell you right now that they did not make it on their cell phones, because their cell phones are incapable of connecting. And if you can find evidence that a cell phone is capable of connecting to a tower from 35,000 feet, I'd like to know from where.
You know what? That's something I'd have to examine. That's something I'd have to examine for myself. You know, again, all the information you've told me, I haven't thought about that much. And before
Well, I'm giving you information. So again,
Well, I'm not going to make just snap decisions because you're giving me information.
Why? You made snap decisions that all this stuff was capable based on what? You made the same snap decision that you were told the truth from all this other stuff, but you don't want to make the same snap decision by what I tell you, and you don't even want to check the veracity of what I just told you, whether or not it's the truth or not. Do you think you can make a phone call, a cell phone call, from 35,000 feet or even 15,000 feet in a plane
I don't
or a
know.
balloon I don't care what you're in, but you're more than willing to make a snap decision that what you were told by some schwimmer guy who sounds like somebody that got the shit kicked out of him in high school all the time, you're willing to make a snap decision based on what a schwimmer guy wrote and some skeptic something or other. Why are you so willing to believe that, but you're not willing to believe me? When I have only made a statement, and I think it's a very definitive statement, that you cannot make a connection from a cell phone from that height. It's not possible.
You know what? Because what you're saying really goes against establishment beliefs, and there are things against the establishment that I'm against as well. But I've looked into it before I make a decision like that. Before I agree or disagree with you, I'd have to examine it. And I've never heard that you can't make a cell phone. You can, and you know what? I'm completely ignorant on the issue. So yeah.
Yes, you are ignorant on the issue. That is a proper statement. It's and you have decided that you are going to make this snap decision based on what?
What sounded good to me at the time.
Does it still sound good to you?
Probably not as much, no.
Okay. So if they didn't use their cell phones, did they use the earphones in the back of the seats?
Maybe.
No. They did not. Why didn't they?
I don't know.
I can tell you.
Why?
The earphones were removed 1 year before 9/11 in those airplanes.
Again, Howard, this is getting into territory that
You took us into this territory.
I don't remember if I did or I didn't.
You did.
Well, I'm sorry.
So the earphones were not in that airplane; they were removed.
Okay.
You're not sure, but you can look up whether or not you can make a phone connection, a mobile phone connection in 2001. By the way, you still can't do it today. But if you can make a mobile phone connection in 2001 to a cell tower from an airplane flying above 8,000 or 9,000 feet.
Okay. I'm not going to argue with you that you're right or you're wrong. I just don't have the knowledge or the information to, and I don't know if they were even up that high. I'm not sure on how high they were up.
They were 30-some thousand feet.
Okay.
They weren't at 8,000 feet.
I don't know why that question.
And they weren't at 3,000 feet.
I don't know
they
why
were at an altitude that it would have been impossible. So you're the one that brought up the let's roll bullshit. Again, you remember the phone calls. Mom, hi, Mom. This is your son. Say your name. I'm being hijacked right now, Mom. You believe me, Mom, right? Yeah, that's a normal conversation from somebody who calls their mother. Hi, Mom. You know me. My name is such and such. I'm your son. You believe that, right, Mom? Yeah.
Okay.
So you believe that nonsense. Again, there were no earphones in the airplane because they had been removed the year prior. That's a fact. That was American Airlines, I believe, and American Airlines has confirmed that there were no earphones. Okay. So how did they make those phone calls?
I don't know.
They certainly didn't use a mobile phone, and They certainly didn't use a mobile phone in 2001 because nobody even had digital in 2001. They were still analog. That was still analog service, which makes it even more difficult.
Anyway, Howard, I think it's time that I end it because I'm getting hungry and I'm going to get something to eat before I go to work.
You feel as if you do feel as if the walls are closing in on you, don't you?
Howard, if I didn't have to go to work, I would continue this conversation.
Why do you start these things when you have to go to work?
Well, again, because things can be left for another day. The world's not gonna end if I end the conversation now.
So let me ask you: are you still of the same level of belief? One, that an airplane hit the Pentagon.
You put a level of skepticism in my brain, but
I did. And how did I put that skepticism in there? Through what? Empirical observation and things that you know. You can't use I'm not a aviation expert, but you have sat your ass in an airplane. You know where the seat is. You know where the wings are, and you know that the engines are far below the wings. And now visually, you see a hole that is 1 foot off the ground. So in order to make that hole, that airplane would have to be flying above ground, 1 foot above the ground. And the engines would have been 7 to 10 feet below that. How does an airplane flying at 500 miles an hour drag its engines into the ground without spinning out of control at that speed and tumbling into the building? No, it continued to miraculously fly and make a hole through fortified building. Building number 1, building number 2, and building number 3. And it's such a miraculous empty straw that it managed to make the same size hole in the punch out at the end of the 3 buildings that it did in the beginning when it punched in. There was no degradation. How's that possible?
Not sure. Howard, I'm going to have to end the show.
Well, you don't have to. You could quit your job.
Yeah, but I don't want to quit my job, Howard.
Okay, but you could quit your job. You don't have to end the show.
Okay, I'm going
to end. You would like to end the show because you would like to keep your job, but you don't have to quit the show. Nobody's holding you hostage, are they?
Oh, Howard, it's amazing. All right, guys, subscribe, leave a comment down below.
Where did Joe go? He seemed to have run off. Why?
He had to go. He had to fix something. Anyway, guys,
How do you know he had to go?
All right. Hey, guys, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Also, visit our website at transparencyandmerit.com. Thank you for listening.